What do the war in eastern Ukraine and renowned pizzeria in the center of Kyiv have in common? How does one open a successful restaurant after returning from the war when you only have $150? What challenging mission did 30-year-old veteran Leonid Staltsev undertake? In November 2016, the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine reported that almost 187,000 people had taken part in the fighting of the east of Ukraine. At least 100,000 of them, one way or another, directly participated in battles with the Russian-supported separatist forces. However, the return to peaceful life became a much more difficult challenge than the military routine for many of them, especially when the front line is a few hundred kilometers from their hometown. Exactly how many Ukrainian soldiers suffer from PTSD is not known. However, according to long-term statistics of the U.S. Armed Forces, psychological problems appear in an average of 15% of veterans. This means that there are at least 15,000 soldiers in Ukraine who have yet to overcome the stress of the war. This figure is comparable to the population of a small town. Programs of their rehabilitation are still being developed. Meanwhile, the veterans are looking for things to keep them busy and earn some money to survive in peaceful life on their own. He is difficult to find in one place. Leonid Staltsev is one of those people who try to do it all and do it better than anyone else. A successful restaurator today, but 10 years ago he didn't know what to do at all and took up any job. Once a friend called me. He said there was a job that involved handing out leaflets wearing a plush pizza costume. So I took up on that opportunity. When I was changing my clothes in the locker room, I met the pizzeria chef of that chain. And he said to me half-jokingly, "Let me teach you how to make pizza." Leonid admits that he wanted to become a cook as a child, but never treated the idea very seriously. Within a few years, he became a professional pizza maker and held master classes for children and adults. In one of the restaurants, he met a waitress who then became his wife. When the Russian aggression against Ukraine started in 2014, Leonid, who had already served in the army, mobilized voluntarily. In the summer of the same year, his 30th Mechanized Brigade was performing combat missions near the Ukrainian border of the Luhansk Oblast. It was then, according to the independent international investigators Bellingcat, that Russian artillery was shelling Ukrainian territory from a safe distance.
Первые обстрелы градами у нас были с Солнцева буквально в самом начале рейда, и потом были обстрелы практически там.
The first hard shelling happened in Solntsevo at the beginning of the raid, and then there were daily shellings several times a day. During one particularly heavy shelling, 3 of our men were wounded. They were all near and around me. They were hospitalized as heavily wounded, while I continued performing tasks and fulfilling my duties.
Поехал дальше на выполнение.
In the summer of 2015, after being wounded, Leonid ended his service and returned home, but he could not stop thinking about the war. His former colleagues formed a non-government organization called Union of the ATO Veterans, which dealt with the problems of the military, from humanitarian supplies to the front to social assistance for demobilized soldiers. But volunteering did not bring enough money in to support a young family. The Union of the ATO Veterans helped the soldiers find jobs in civilian life as soon as possible, and Leonid was responsible for contacts with the State Employment Agency. There, he took free courses on business plan creation and, having only $150 to his name, decided to open his own pizzeria.
Долго искал инвестора, почти 2 месяца.
I had been looking for an investor for nearly 2 months, and then I met a very experienced businessman for a consultation. He took a look at my project and said, "I have an unprofitable Japanese restaurant. Let us start using it as a base. You will take half of it. We will give it a try, and if all goes well, then I will help you out." In late 2015, Leonid's son, Lev, was born, and at the same time, in the underground shopping center right in the center of Kyiv, a restaurant with a catchy name, Pizza Veterano, opened. It had several principles. First, they only made pizza with Italian thin dough. Secondly, 10% of the proceeds were given to charity. And thirdly, cooks and waiters were exclusively veterans, which saved the restaurant's visitors from having their belongings stolen on a number of occasions.
Мой официант увидел, что зашло 2 оленя и дернули телефон со стола.
My waiter saw a phone being stolen from a table. The Frenchman, who was busy with his guests, did not even take notice. So Vasya, a lean man with long legs and hands from the 95th Brigade, caught the thief and brought him back. We returned the phone. The Frenchman did not even understand what happened.
После этого мы отдали телефон, француз даже ничего не понял.
Next, how Leonid Staltsev had to reopen his pizzeria and the secret of his brand name pizza. Pizza Veterano turned out to be such a successful project that within a month after its opening, the New York Times wrote about Leonid Staltsev and his restaurant. The article was published under the loud headline, "Ukrainian war veterans trade heat of battle for pizza ovens." Leonid Staltsev admits that this business helped him overcome the psychological effects of war. I created this pizzeria for people like myself. First, to help them with mastering a new specialty, and second, for the union of the ATO veterans to have a place for meetings. Any work usually helps a person going through tough times or depression, and the best cure for such depression is staying constantly busy, doing anything to take your mind off of it.
Постоянно быть в движении.
But in the end of 2016, Leonid's business stopped. His partner decided to sell the premises. He had to quickly find a new place. Leonid's attention was attracted on an abandoned cafe just a few dozen meters from Independence Square. The building was empty for 7 years and was not very expensive to rent. He had to ask his friends and acquaintances for money to pay for basic repairs and renovations. They managed to finish renovations in just 6 weeks. Leonid always cared about the unique interior of the place. This is the map of Ukraine they made themselves, from shell casings. The temporarily occupied territories of Crimea and the Donbas region on this map are covered with bullet fragments. But the main area directly in front of the entrance to the hole is the home to a large mock rifle and military chevrons. The guy left the chevrons when they came here. They gave them to me and I hung them there on the wall. It is now a tradition. If you do not see your chevron here, you have to give it away to decorate the wall. The pride and joy of this place is, of course, Pizza Veterano, which is made here unlike in any other establishment in Ukraine. Especially for UATV, Leonid makes a real Pizza Veterano himself.
Мы взяли тесто. Берем тесто.
We roll the dough only in corn flour. Why corn flour, you ask? Because it is one of the few varieties of flour when baked acquires a unique taste. We roll the dough as thinly as possible, then I throw it up in the air for it to become even bigger under its own weight. Although, when the dough is swirling around in the air, you can see its thickness and how transparent it became after this process. And of course, you have to do this when you're in a good mood.
Когда ты подбрасываешь, четко можно посмотреть, насколько она прозрачная, насколько тонкое тесто. Это классно. Ну и весело это делать. Что тут?
Then Leonid lays grated mozzarella cheese of Ukrainian production from the Vinnytsia or Poltava regions onto the pizza. He believes that our domestic mozzarella is in no way worse than that from Italy. And to make the pizza even sweeter and tastier, he covers the cheese with special 18% cream.
Это классическая пицца чичина, луковая. Вот туда идет очень много лука, который мы накладываем.
This is a classic cicina pizza with onions. We have to put a lot of onions on it, which I am doing right now. When we cover it with slices of bacon, then it is baked and the pizza becomes very light and tasty.
Все это запекается, и такая, она очень легкая, очень вкусная.
You can order 2 pizzas in one, meaning that the ingredients on one half of the pizza differ from those on the other half. This part with Parma ham is called for Buslaev, in memory of Leonid's deceased friend Alexei Buslaev, who was crazy about meat. Reminders of the war decorate the interior of this pizzeria to remind visitors of the value of peaceful life, or in this case, a pizza-full life. Next, what do Italians think about Pizza Veterano? Pizza Veterano never skips on ingredients and does not accept any compromises in terms of the quality of products. The restaurant has long had clients from Italy itself, for example, Giovanni and Giuseppe. My friend from the Italian community told me that he had found the best pizza in Kyiv and brought me to Leonid's restaurant. I'm from Naples, where many different kinds of pizza are made. From all I have tasted in Ukraine, Pizza Veterano is the closest to the Neapolitan quality and is sold at a very reasonable price. Perhaps that is why it is difficult to find a free seat in the pizzeria even on a weekday, and the chefs there work without taking a break. Pizza Veterano is often bought in large quantities for soldiers in military hospitals of Kyiv or for those who are leaving for the front from the capital's railway station. With this flow of orders and work almost around the clock, Leonid Staltsev in February 2017, after a forced break, opened 3 pizzerias at once in Kyiv, Dnipro and Truskavets. In addition, there are 6 coffee shops in Kyiv that have been operating for 3 months under the brand name Coffee Veterano, of course, only with the permission of Leonid. We are a team and we work for a common cause, but he feeds people while I sell beverages to them. Anyone who has returned from the ATO can come to us and we will help them open a similar business. We will teach them, tell them what to do, and very soon they have enough knowledge to open up their own businesses. The programs that Leonid Staltsev hosts in the radio of Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, Army FM, are also dedicated to the adoption of veterans to a peaceful life.
17 година, сьогодні понеділок, це Армія ФМ, програма «Ветерано бізнес». Мене звати Леонід Стальцев. Сьогодні у мене в гостях, як завжди, крутий хлопець, це Мартін Брест. І сьогодні наша програма буде присвячена тому, як же все-таки відкрити свій бізнес.
А головне, зачем?
Once a week, I invite guests, those men who return from the war and open their businesses, or who had a business before the war and are continuing to develop it. We communicate on various topics, how to open a business, what kind of business, where to find money for that, and things like that. In essence, Leonid combined public work with business in a way that nobody else in Ukraine could have done. Meanwhile, a masterclass for children from families of veterans and fallen soldiers is starting at the pizzeria. On weekends, they are taught to make pizza.
Поднимаем. Все, кто захотел, поднимаем. Отлично. Больше, больше. Отлично, отлично. Так, аккуратно берем.
Почему? Я люблю пиццу.
мене папа в АТО помер.
My father died in ATO. He can see that you are not alone and that you will always be supported.
І тебе можуть завжди підтримати.
Many come to Pizza Veterano just for support. When Leonid visits his restaurant, he finds that almost a third of its visitors are his friends and colleagues. He wanted to open a place for his people, and he definitely succeeded.
Одна из целей проекта также...
One of the goals of the project is to show that it is possible, because I'm no genius. I had no money and I do not possess some kind of super entrepreneurial skills or spirit. If I'm successful, then others can be as well. The main thing is to try to do something that brings you and other people joy.
Рабів до раю не пускають.